Hello everyone and welcome to EVTN News. My computer seems to be running a bit slow, so I hope that doesn't delay the video. But let's get right into things. I have a few stories today that are positive and then kind of end on the negative note. Unfortunately, that's just how it works, but we'll go with that though. I mean, having positive stories is actually positive, right? Because usually a lot of the stories are negative. So, Cardinal William Eijk of the Netherlands will celebrate his first public traditional Latin Mass in March at the Church of Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception in Oss, that's the Netherlands, on Sunday, March 15th. The fact that Eijk routinely celebrates the Mass, the Novus Ordo ad Orienem, has already attracted attention in the Netherlands at times. Addressing leftists who criticize him for the traditional liturgical posture, the Catholic liturgical posture, he said, "I do not celebrate Mass with my back to the people. I say it by turning my face towards Christ, together with the people who are truly turned towards Christ." And, because the traditional Mass, it's always turned towards Christ. That's kind of pretty obvious to anyone who attends a Mass, the traditional Mass. But anyway, okay. All right. And I have, for my next story, on Sunday, February 15th, Father Javier Oliveira Ravasi offered a traditional Latin Mass outside of San Francisco Planned Parenthood clinic to ask forgiveness and make reparation for the crime of abortion. Ravasi is stationed at the beautiful Star of the Sea Parish in San Francisco, where he arrived in 2024. He is also the co-founder of the Order of St. Elias, a society of apostolic life founded in the Archdiocese of Puerto Viejo, Ecuador, and acts as an apostolate of the countercultural revolution. So, kind of interesting. I mean, I know this is San Francisco, so Archbishop Corleone is the Archbishop, but I can't say that this would be permitted in very many places. And honestly, in most dioceses, if a priest offered a Latin Mass anywhere, even in a church, he would be called into the bishop's office the next day and maybe asked to publicly apologize for the scandal he's caused from saying a Latin Mass, or maybe even be suspended. But I wouldn't be surprised if Archbishop Corleone had encouraged this. So, okay, I'm going to show you a video clip of it. And I hope this will work. And you can see there's photos. And as you can see, there are, okay, so like you have the servers assisting the priest, but then there are people assisting the servers by holding umbrellas over their heads. So I feel like that's pretty interesting. I thought that was really neat. I'm actually going to try this a little bit, try to click on some of these photos and see if you can see them. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so you can see them. So I could have zoomed in on the video a little bit. Yeah, so lots of people with umbrellas. Obviously, it was a rainy day. And the server is wearing a poncho, but I don't know that too many people have a complaint about this. Very neat that all these people decided to show up. And of course, distributing communion, and you have the paten, but also the umbrella. So very neat. Oh, okay. So there's the video. Okay. All right. Now here's the interesting thing. Try doing that anywhere else. Is this in compliance with Traditionis Custodes? Would Pope Leo endorse this? That's a good question. The fact that you can't do this everywhere, that's the crisis. Okay. What's next? Pope Leo recently demoted Monsignor Gaspard Beby. B-E-B-Y. Okay. Gaspard Ganeba, age 63, as auxiliary bishop of Abidjan, Ivory Coast. He has served as diocesan bishop of Mon since 2008. So quite a while. In 2024 and in 2008. That is 18 years ago. I'm just doing some quick math here. So he would have been 45 years old when he was named Bishop of Mon in 2008 under Pope Benedict. Wow. Okay. Anyway, in 2024 and 2025, significant tensions arose in the Diocese of Mon between Bishop Ganeba and some of his clergy. In early 2024, Monsignor Ganeba issued a pastoral directive urging the faithful to report to him any priest who was not faithful to his vow of celibacy, who had a wife or children who committed sexual abuse or who engaged in financial misconduct. Evidently appalled by the number of priests living with concubines, often with children they had fathered, and supporting these families with church funds, the bishop demanded that such priests resign from ministry. And Leo just demoted him. This is the crisis. Okay. The appointment of a religious sister to replace Christiane Murray at the Dicastery for Communications has caused quite an alarm for quite a few people. Sister Nina Benedicta Kropik is a staunch loyalist of Natasha Govakar, who wanted her and brought her into the dicastery. Govakar, in turn, was appointed in previous years as director of the Theological Pastoral Directorate of the Dicastery Communication by virtue of her belonging to the circle of Marco Rupnik. Yes, you've heard that correctly. Govakar, following the scandal that emerged regarding Rupnik, was among the main supporters of the line that prevented the removal of images of Rupnik's works from the Vatican News website, and her close friend has been appointed to the Dicastery for Communications. And as you can see, Rupnik continues to have influence in the Leo Church. Okay. Bishop Schneider said on his meeting with Pope Leo last year, he himself said that he had met young people. I was surprised to hear this from his own lips, who told him that their conversion to God had come through the traditional Latin Mass. So Leo told Bishop Schneider that he knew young people who had converted to the Catholic faith because of the traditional Mass. So Leo knows that young people convert to Catholicism because of the Mass, yet he continues to appoint Mass-crushing bishops and ignores the ongoing persecution of the Mass and the sacraments. Again, this is ridiculous. I mean, Leo meets with anyone except the SSPX, who we'll get to here in a second. And people keep saying, just wait, just give him time. He's had almost a year, and he hasn't done anything about the Mass. He could have freed it. I mean, Francis didn't hesitate to trash Benedict's legacy. Why do we need to preserve the Francis Church? Unless you're of the same mind. And unfortunately, that's the crisis. In response to Kissy Fernandez's proposal for dialogue, Father Pagliarani of the SSPX wrote, "While I certainly rejoice at a new opening of dialogue and a positive response to my proposal of 2019, I cannot accept the perspective and objectives in the name of which the dicastery offers to resume dialogue in the present situation, nor indeed the postponement of the date of July 1st for the episcopal consecrations." So they're going to move forward with the episcopal consecrations. They're not going to dialogue because the Vatican doesn't have any interest in dialogue. They just have interest in stalling and trying to discourage the SSPX from ordaining traditionalist bishops. The FSSP was promised a bishop. That's I would say almost 40 years ago now. And no bishop. So Archbishop Lefebvre, he kind of had a feeling that Vatican wasn't being honest. And this Vatican, they are honest. And Kissy has threatened to excommunicate the SSPX, maybe the bishops, I don't know, maybe even the priests. But, you know, their treatment of heretics is one of celebration. They celebrate the heretics, but persecute the Catholics. Maybe if the SSPX put up a Rupnik painting in one of their churches, maybe they'd be more accepted in the Vatican. But if if they do excommunicate the SSPX, or at least they label them as schismatics, then they should be able to request the SSPX should be able to request the same Mass in a Roman basilica and have it granted, just like the heretic Anglicans. And people bring up the Chinese bishops. I guess it shows the difference of integrity, because I said, right after Francis died, the SSPX should have just consecrated new bishops. But they have integrity, and so they didn't do that. But the Chinese communists did. They did exactly what I said. And to me, I was saying it not seriously. But yeah, the Chinese communists did that. There was no pope, and they decided to go ahead and consecrate a new patriotic bishop who was recognized by Pope Leo a few months down the road. So, I mean, certainly these new SSPX bishops will be accepted by Leo, right? Unless communism is the priority of the Vatican and traditionalism is not. I mean, obviously, we know that traditionalism is not a priority for the Vatican. Also, there was the traditional Thomist. And this isn't linked below, but he did have some things to say, basically the same things I'm saying right now. And people, they said something like, you just need to pray harder, or you need to do, I don't know, you need to do something, I don't know. But he's basically talking about how disappointed he is with the Leo Church. And that's that. Now, for someone in that state, you really, tell him, well, the gates of hell will never prevail. That's not going to help. That's really not going to help, because it seems like it did. And a lot of us are trying to make sense of the situation, and we just don't have any answers. I don't have any answers. I don't know. Meanwhile, we got Cardinal Sarah and Cardinal Burke, who are saying, oh, the SSPX is committing a schismatic act. Let's take a look at Cardinal Sarah and Cardinal Burke's accomplishments over the past 14 years. Oh. Yeah. That's their accomplishment. I voted in the 2025 papal conclave. Okay, they got a sticker. They got a sticker from the Vatican. You know, Cardinal Sarah talked a lot about silence. Why does he choose the SSPX? Why does he choose the SSPX topic to speak up? Where was he? Did he oppose fiducia supplicans, or did he just keep his mouth shut? Where was he when Francis was spewing all these errors? And right now it's sheep without a shepherd. There's no shepherd because we have a massive crisis in the church, and the only thing they can bother to do is criticize the SSPX. Where are the defenders of the traditional mass? They're in the SSPX. Bishop Schneider is supporting them. Bishop Strickland's supporting them. That's it. 2 bishops in the entire world. Michael Matt is speaking reasonably, worth a listen. You know, just not even that many weeks ago, Michael Matt was saying some crazy stuff about Minnesota. But he's coming around. I don't know. I haven't really checked out what he has to say. But I mean, come on, like, you know, if you have someone like Nick who's just trying to make sense of everything, I think the most you can do is just talk it out. You know, I don't think you have to lecture him. I don't think we're all in the same boat. You know, I thought of something interesting. Someone posted on Twitter. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what, you know, how much meaning it has, but they said something like, you know, when Jesus said the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. Did he say that because we think that they will? Because it will appear that they will? Oh. Yeah. Yeah, he warns against a circular firing squad. Because here's what's going to happen. If the bishops die, then they won't get any bishops from Vatican ever. If the SSPX goes away, then so does the FSSP and the Institute. Because the whole point of the Francis Church, the Synodal Church, Traditionis Custodes, was to crush the Mass. To get rid of it. Paul VI tried it, didn't work. John Paul II allowed for some limited accommodations so that he could try to destroy the SSPX. Benedict felt bad about his role in that. And so he tried to at least talk to them. Francis had a very strange relationship with the SSPX. It was very strange. He gave them faculties to hear confessions. So we could see some things happening. This puts pressure on Leo to do something about the traditional Mass, because they're going to consecrate more bishops and tradition will continue. If Leo leaves things as they are, then we're going to see more diocesan Masses canceled every year. I don't know about the Ecclesia Dei groups. That's a big question mark right now. Will they be pressured? And don't forget, I say this from time to time, don't forget, in Chicago, on the first Sunday, the only place where you can go to a traditional Mass is the SSPX, because Supich banned the traditional Mass on first Sundays of every month. The Institute didn't go along with it, and then Supich suspended their faculties. They drew their line, and Supich drew his. I'm surprised more bishops haven't followed his lead. I thought they would. But so far they haven't. But that doesn't mean they won't. Because as we can see, more scheming, rotten bishops are being promoted. These are the Francis bishops. Some of these guys are horribly corrupt, and they hate the Mass. I did not see this one. I'll have to read this or listen. Is it a video? I'll have to listen to this. Now, here's the thing. Here's another thing. If you don't go to the SSPX and you don't want to go to the SSPX, guess what? No one's forcing you to go to the SSPX. That's fine. You don't have to. Again, no one's making you go. And so if you're watching this video and you're like, this doesn't really apply to me, it doesn't. Because if you don't, but it does. Because the SSPX is preserving tradition. They're, what would you say? They're the reason why the Ecclesia Dei groups haven't been crushed. There's the lingering threat that the SSPX is going to take people out of the diocesan structure, and the diocese isn't going to get that money from the Ecclesia Dei parishes. But again, if you say, okay, it's not for me, I don't go, then you know what, that's fine. You're not forced to. No one's forcing you to. But that doesn't give you, that doesn't give you an excuse to continuously hate post about the SSPX. Like, there's Bree, Dale, Christine Niles. What are you doing? You clearly hate the SSPX. Just don't go. Like, I'm not constantly posting every single day. You can't go to a Jesuit parish. You can't go to a German bishop's. You can't go to a Novus Ordo in Germany. I'm not constantly posting that because it doesn't really impact me. It impacts the Catholics in that region. It's terrible for them. But I'm not constantly hate posting that. I should post a reminder every single day that you can't go to a Latin Mass. You can only go to the only Latin Mass you can find in Chicago on first Sundays of every month is the SSPX. I should constantly post that, but I don't. I don't have the energy to do that. I think some people have a financial incentive to oppose the SSPX, which is very strange. But it's just cool it. Like, don't post about it. If you're not going to go, then don't post about it. Who are you to judge? After all, Leo said we're one with the Anglicans, and they have invalid liturgies. I don't know. Sometimes I really just don't get it. I think, and I find myself being kind of absorbed into social media with like responding to posts that I really have no reason to. In fact, I'm reading some good books right now, and I encourage you to do so as well. Traditional books written before 1960, before 1950. Tan has a lot of good ones. In fact, I don't know if any of you guys have used bookstores. It's a really neat thing. And I have, there are some in my area. And I found a bunch of really good books. I spent a ton. I didn't even spend that much money. I think I spent like over $20 though on many, many books. So I'm looking forward to reading some of those. But it's fantastic. Some traditionalists just emptied their library and donated it to this used bookstore. Picked up some great stuff. But yeah, I have a lot of books on my bookshelf, and I'm reading through some really good ones right now. And the more I read, the less I want to spend time on social media. Although it's very consuming, you guys know it. You can scroll and you can see all the comments, and you feel the need to respond. I appreciate the comments on this video. I'm not criticizing any of you, but if you just see comments from people who are very, very hostile. In fact, I think I blocked someone last week, who made a comment that he commented on my video. I think he commented on a tweet at one point of mine, and he was just name calling, and I'm like, we're not, like, I don't have the time for people that like. I don't really block too many comments. I think I blocked a bunch of spammers whenever I do my live stream on my phone, because a bunch of bots just showed up and started commenting. But not so much on this one. But when people, when they just start name calling, like, you know, the term schismatic, that's basically become you know, the Novus Ordo version of the leftists when they call people like racist, bigot, like homophobe, whatever, anti-Semite. Those words mean nothing. They mean nothing now. And schismatic, it's going to mean nothing because people use it so much. The Novus Ordo, you know, Novus Ordos are using it. Basically, I think it was Larry Chapp. He blocked me on Twitter. He has a PhD from a Jesuit university in New York. Oh, which one is it? It'll come back to me. I completely forget. But it'll come back to me at some point. Anyway, this Jesuit university in New York is very leftist, and he wrote an article for EWTN against traditionalists. He said basically most traditionalists are basically sedevacantists, and you know, with people like that, I mean, you can see how we're approaching two different religions. You know, he believes in like a modernist, modernist new Pentecost, where you can just, you know, label anyone who wants the Catholic Mass, the Catholic Mass and sacraments. You can label us as schismatic. You can call us sedevacantists. The SSPX aren't sedevacantists. They've been asking for a meeting with the Pope, who's been ignoring them. He's been meeting with anyone and everyone except the SSPX. So it's a very difficult time for a lot of us, even for those who don't attend the SSPX, but they just want to see the preservation of tradition. It's just a very difficult time. So I think all we can really do is pray. Kind of been waiting for, you know, we've been waiting for something. We've been waiting for the Holy Ghost. We've been waiting for a restoration of this synodal church, a restoration to the traditional Catholic faith. You know, it's the traditional Catholic faith has been relegated to yeah, the traditional Catholic faith has been relegated to you know, the slums and the middle of nowhere. Jesuit judging others. Okay, not sure I get that. I don't know. I'm kind of slow with getting stuff. I've been asking for different things, and people are kind of mean online too. Have you noticed that? People are very mean online. I can't say I'm an exception. Okay, now I need to look it up. What's the Jesuit university in New York? I think it's gonna Fordham University. I knew it started with an F. He has a Jesuit. He has a PhD from Fordham University, which I think Father James Martin has a nice association with them. So, and EWTN lets him write for for their newspaper, their news outlet or whatever. Catholic News Agency was just I don't know if I even mentioned this. Catholic News Agency was just rebranded as EWTN News. I assume that no one lost their job. I don't think anything's any different. It's just the branding, the same writers and everything. I don't expect it to be any different. But they've been taking a kind of a modernist approach. And I think the SSPX, it's been making news in these places that never have any interest in that stuff. And same with the Cardinals. They could have, like Cardinal Burke and Cardinal Sarah, they could have reached out to the SSPX and talked to them, but they just decided to publicly criticize them. Just very sad. But the good thing is, in 1988, they didn't have social media. That's pretty obvious. They didn't have the internet. So you had to rely on newspapers. And so it was a very underground thing. But now it's become mainstream. The SSPX streams, some of their masses are live streamed on YouTube, as are other masses everywhere else. You can, if you're trapped in a snowstorm like I was a few months ago inside your house, then you have to live stream. And you can pick and choose. You can choose your local parish, or you can choose a traditional mass. And I think during the virus shutdown, many of us, chose to live stream Latin masses wherever we wanted. I personally preferred Ireland. There was a traditional mass. I think it was the Institute of Christ the King in Limerick, Ireland. I watched their live stream masses because it was a nice church. They had a very nice organ, and it was I could watch it as early as I wanted because they're like 5 hours ahead of me. So by the time I woke up, they had already posted their masses, which is very nice. But anyway, kind of diverging from the topic at hand. But you guys see what I'm saying, though. It's not. This isn't an underground thing anymore. This is public, and the consecrations are going to be live streamed. And Cassie's response will probably be immediate, but then the SSPX can respond immediately via their website. So this is, and the Vatican can kind of push it off as underground, and in 1988 they could have kind of buried the story, at least tried to. Now they can't. It's in their face. And what's going to happen to diocesan Latin masses? Is Leo going to just crush the rest? Is he going to just take them out? Is he going to expand them? Because if he just ignores it, he's going to take them out very slowly. And yeah, that's just lots of stuff. We still have 5 months, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll result in an overall positive for the church. I think it will. Because, Novus Ordo bishops close churches constantly. You're constantly seeing different dioceses closing churches. The SSPX is building new ones. So, all right, that's all I have for today's news. Okay, this has been it for EVTN News. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.